Welcome back to the Fallen Giants rebuild here on Super Sammy Plays. Last season didn't exactly go to plan. In one respect, it was a brilliant season as we got into the Champions League last 16 before PSG knocked us out. In another, we lost our star player and had a disappointing league campaign before at least stabilising towards the end. It was the first time in this rebuild where we haven't continued to improve, but with no European football this season, our only focus is the league and finishing as high as possible in it. We need to be playing Champions League football for our rebuild of Deportivo to be a success, so that is going to be the aim for this season. So, will we finish in one of those European spots come May? Let's get into it and find out. Two of our main issues from last year was the squad dynamics and not replacing El Mala at the start of the season. With Ugachukwu looking to leave and interested Engels, we need to make sure the same doesn't happen again. With just a year left on Ugochukwu's contract, I was looking to get rid of him now rather than lose him on a free at the end of the season. So it turned out perfect when Monaco came in with a bid of just under 20 million, resulting in him leaving the club. Having already planned for him leaving with Chukwuemeka, Onyeka and Casadei signings, I decided to spend the money elsewhere and strengthen another part of the team. Joan Gadou was a player I've signed regularly on FM26, and with him valued at just 14 to 21 million, it felt like the perfect addition. After some negotiating, we came to an agreement of 18.5 mil, and before you know it, Gadou was the Deportivo player. Oh, and Benjamin Sesko had been released from Man United too, an opportunity I felt too good to turn down, so I offered him a contract which he accepted, joining Gadou as our second 6'5" signing of the window. Dortmund tried testing our resolve with a bid of 29 million for Engels, but after how good he'd been last season, there was no way I was letting him go without a fight. He had a release clause of 34.5 million, so they'd have to match that if they wanted to talk to him, not that he was desperate to go anyway. And talking of keeping our best players at the club, I offered Captain Cups a new contract, with his current deal entering its final 2 years. Surprisingly, his wage demands were still pretty low, so we quickly wrapped things up while also increasing his release clause to 90 million. In terms of outgoings, we finally got rid of Karabakh with him moving to Vallecano for 800k, solving another of our squad dynamics issues. We also loaned out youngster Guerrero to help his development, with him joining recently relegated Real Valladolid, meaning I'm still going to have to struggle pronouncing their name for at least another season. Betis was showing interest in one of our main men from last season, Mark Gui, but with them touting a fee of around 50 million and his release clause being 90, he wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. Young Player of the Year, Mamba, had also decided he wanted to stay, again fixing another of our squad dynamics issues, but more importantly meaning we'd be keeping one of our best young players at the club. We also received another offer for Engels, this time from Leipzig and even less than the last one, but again he was happy to stay at the club, so that got rejected. On to our first game of the season, we were facing newly promoted Malaga, where we gave Gadou and Sesko their debuts for the club. And just 12 minutes in, Sesko looked to have made an instant impact, but unfortunately his goal was ruled offside. He did at least assist the opener for his strike partner Gui as he finished from range, before Gui then got his second in the 71st minute. Casadei then added a third before assisting Endor for the 4, as we took all 3 points on the opening day. We then drew 0-0 with Atleti before receiving a deadline day offer for wing-back Comenencia, with Freeman and Kramer being more than capable of stepping in as well as having youngster Osorio for the future. I decided to accept and take the profit. With the window now closed and all of our business done, we look to continue our unbeaten start to the season in our bid for European football. Sesko got off the mark in a 2-0 win over Espanyol, followed by our other 2 strikers combining for the only goal as we beat Betis. Youngster Guerrero had also started his loan spell well, getting a hat-trick against Granada, meaning he had 6 goal involvements in 6 appearances. Back to us though, and we dropped points with a 0-0 draw against Sociedad before the first Galician derby of the season, in which Tierno Barry scored the only goal of the game in a 1-0 win. And that win must have pleased the board as well as the fans, as they offered me a new contract to keep me at the club. Obviously I accepted, as we've still got plenty of work to do in taking Deportivo back to the top of La Liga and competing with the big boys of Spanish football. It weren't just me getting good news either, as Mamba had added the FIFA Best Under-21s Player Award to his Young Player of the Season, as well as Guerrero winning Player of the Month for September. Gadou got his first goal for us in a 4-0 win over Villarreal before a last-minute winner from Gui to beat Athletic Club 3-2, as we extended our unbeaten run to 14 games. We made it 15 as we beat Girona 2-1 before adding another as we beat Osasuna. Cassaday's effort took a deflection and went down as an own goal, before Cups added a second, getting on the end of Endur's free kick. Engeln's low drive from the edge made it 3 before half time, with a close range finish from Aymar the only reply in a 3-1 win. To make it 17 unbeaten though, we had a tough test in Sevilla, and it was Vlasic who opened the scoring for them 10 minutes into the second half. 82 minutes in and Barry's pullback found Chukwuemeka, who levelled the game, but just 3 minutes later, Godou's weak pass was intercepted, allowing Sevilla to counter. Vlasic then found the perfect pass to Adams, who put it away, and our unbeaten streak was over. So, after our first loss of the season, we found ourselves in third place behind the usual league leaders in Barcelona and Real Madrid. The team we just lost to, Sevilla, were hot on our tails in fourth, just 2 points behind us, having only lost once themselves. And talking of Real Madrid and Barcelona, they were our next two opponents with the first match taking place at the Riazor. We made home advantage count inside the first half as Chukwuemeka's free kick found Cups at the far post, who headed down to Fjord and he tucked it away to give us the lead. But right on the stroke of half time, Mbappe took it into his own hands, going past Barry with ease before slotting into the far post to make it 1-1. On to Barcelona, this one was at Camp Nou, and as easily as Mbappe equalised for Madrid, Yamal did similar to give Barcelona the lead. But 20 minutes later, and onto the other side of half time, Barry combined with Onyeka before finding the near corner to get us back level, before a moment to forget for Fjord, as his short back pass was picked up by Charles de Ketelaere, who rounded Brumans to restore Barcelona's lead. But right at the death in Fergie time, Endur's through ball found Sesko, who finished emphatically to get us back level for a second time, with the game finishing at 2-2. So no win in our last 3 games, but draws against Barcelona and Real Madrid certainly aren't the worst result in the world. And we did get back to winning ways in the next game, beating Mallorca 2-1 with goals from Barry and Gui, with a slice of luck involved in both. We followed that up with a comfortable 4-1 win over Racing before another Copa del Rey win, this time 3-0 over Alcoyano. Back to the league though, we beat Cadiz 3-1 before facing 13th place Alaves. With goals from Barry and Cassaday and a consolation for Alaves, we made it 4 wins in a row in a 2-1 win. That just left us with Valencia to play before heading into the winter break, and after Makama had given us the lead after just 7 minutes, we'd gotten off to the perfect start. Barry added a second 5 minutes later before things got even worse for Valencia, just before half time, with a reckless challenge from Hugo Duro resulting in a red card. Thomason added a third before Godou wrapped up the scoring with a fourth, not your typical centre-back goal from a corner. So with that win, we made it 5 in a row, which had kept us in third place going into the winter break. We had a 10-point gap to Girona in fourth, as well as only being just 3 points behind Madrid in second, with a game in hand. Quite the contrast to this time last season, but success does come with a price, and our key players were attracting attention. With our squad now happy, I didn't want to risk a repeat of last season and throw away the brilliant start we've made to the season by upsetting the team with a load of new signings. Not that our transfer budget would even allow for that anyway, but you get my point. So after a quiet winter break, we had our first match back, and it turned out to be a slightly trickier affair than I expected, going all the way to penalties to decide this one. Sesko took our first, but a great save from Martin denied him, giving Lugo the advantage, which they didn't take. Karim made himself the hero, saving the second as well, and with no more blanks from us, we advanced through to the next round. I did make an offer for a young midfielder, who I thought had great physicals and potential, but probably should have considered how often I'll have to say his name. Well, all 4 of them. But while we waited for a response on Pierre-Jean Morkin-Fieur, we added Cordoba to our win streak with a 3-1 victory. Our next opponents were having an absolutely stinking season, with Atleti sitting in 16th place, having won just 4 of their 18 games so far. After the start we made, it weren't about to get any better for them either, as Makama gave us the lead after 4 minutes. Freeman's pass found Sesko, who netted for our second, before Cassaday pulled back for Sesko's second, and our third in an easy 3-0 win. And those wins had temporarily taken us to the top of the table, putting the pressure on Madrid and Barca. And you might remember at the start of the season, Dortmund made a bid for Engels. Well, they were back again, and this time they'd gone straight in with an offer of 34.5 million, matching his release clause. But according to his agent, he was happy to stay, so rather than leave it to chance, I opened contract discussions to extend his deal and increase the clause. And after a bit of back and forth, he agreed and signed a new deal, increasing the release clause up to 60 million while also bagging himself a nice pay rise in the process. Next up was our fourth round tie in the Copa del Rey and an excuse to give some of our youngsters some game time. However, it was Villarreal who started the better with Big Willy Camboala getting on the end of a corner to put them in front. Oluwaseyi added a second before we scored a corner of our own, but it was nothing more than a consolation when Oluwaseyi got his second and dumped us out of the cup. We at least continued our win streak in the league, beating Malaga 1-0 with a tidy finish from Chukwuemeka to make it 8 in a row. Espanyol were our next opponents, and it was them that started the better when Puedo firing into the net in the 33rd minute to give them the lead. Gui then got the luckiest deflection of his life, hitting Bijorami square in the face before dropping on a plate for him to level the game up. Puedo got his second to put Espanyol back in front before Thomason's brilliant ball set Gui free, and he selflessly squared to Sesko to square the score up for a second time, as we drew 2-2, ending our win streak. With our exit from the Copa del Rey and no European football, we had no excuses and no more distractions from securing our best ever finish in La Liga. All we had to do now was stay consistent. So Casadei wanting a new deal weren't exactly well timed. It would have been fine if he was happy with still just being a squad player, but his refusal to accept anything less than a regular starter ended the discussions before they really got started. Back to the football though, and we had Real Betis who got off to the perfect start with a goal from former Chelsea man Liam Delap. Didn't expect to say that heading into this one, that's for sure. Thankfully though, our quality got us back into it, with Mambwa finding Chukwuemeka whose low drive beat the keeper to make it 1-1. And the turnaround was complete 15 minutes into the second half with Chukwuemeka involved again, this time providing for Onyeka who headed us into the lead. And Dor added a third before this cracker got another back for Betis, but it was to no avail as we won 3-2. Out to Casadei's agent came grovelling back, I reopened talks, and with him more willing to negotiate this time, we actually made some progress. We agreed a new deal, but unfortunately the squad cap meant we were unable to renew, meaning the whole situation was a waste of time. 7th place Sociedad were our next opponent, and it took just 6 minutes for us to get in front of this one, with Barry getting on the end of Chukwuemeka's corner. Sesko added a second 4 minutes later before Onyeka joined the fun, making it 3 in 17 minutes. Chukwuemeka got one of his own, making it 4 10 minutes into the second half, before Cup scored a goal our strikers would have been proud of, prompting the most dramatic firing of an arrow celebration I think I've ever seen. Gui joined our list of goal scorers, making it 6 after a pinpoint cross from Mambwa, before Chukwuemeka rounded out the scoring, getting his second goal to match his 2 assists in a 7-0 hammering of Sociedad and our biggest league win in this rebuild so far. Certainly the perfect performance to take into the next Galician derby. Fiorhiel didn't get the memo though, as he got caught on the ball, resulting in Liberale opening the scoring and us going a goal down. Into the second half, and it just looked like it weren't going to be our day, as Mambwa tackled Liberale straight into Mingueza's path, who smashed into the far corner for a second. We eventually got a goal back from Thomason's cross, finding Freeman, whose header hit the crossbar, before coming back to Endor, who gratefully headed home. Unfortunately though, that was the 91st minute, and it was too little too late, with the game ending 2-1. So our unbeaten run was over, this time reaching 13 before that loss to Celta Vigo. In better news, Guerrero was absolutely cooking on his loan spell, adding another 2 goals against Granada, making it 19 in total with 6 assists in 29 appearances. Now, if someone could tell his attributes those numbers, that would be great. Next up, a chance for revenge as we face the team that knocked us out of the Copa del Rey in Villarreal. But after some good work down the right flank from Al Wadai, it was the visitors who took the lead with a simple finish from close range. Thankfully though, Freeman showed some brilliant dribbling going past 2 defenders before pulling it back to Chukwuemeka, who got us back level. And that would prove to be the final goal of the game as it finished 1-1. An away trip to Athletic Club followed, and Carney turned provider this time, squaring for Gui to give us the lead in the 21st minute. Athletic had got back level in the last minute of the first half via a corner, before taking the lead in the 65th minute with a tidy finish from Younas after another poorly cleared corner. Mark Gui came to our rescue, getting his second goal of the game after a clever pass from Onyeka as we drew for the second game in a row. So after that dip of form and not winning in our last 3 games, we were still sat comfortably in third, 8 points in front of the team we'd just drawn with, Athletic Club. We were still close to Barcelona and Madrid, but with how consistent they'd been, we weren't likely to make that gap up. Either way, we were still set for our best season yet, certainly our most consistent. Fifth place Girona were our next opponents, but we made light work of them, getting in front just 90 seconds in, after some good work from Barry before laying off for Chukwuemeka to finish. Barry got one of his own before providing again, this time for Gui, who wrapped up the scoring in a 3-0 win. We made it back-to-back wins, beating Osasuna 1-0, before welcoming our next opponents to the Riazor. Onyeka opened the scoring in the first half before providing the second for midfield partner Chukwuemeka 2 minutes into the second. Barry made it 3-0 before a response from the away side with DeWitt pulling a goal back. And they certainly gave us a scare as Alberto got another in the 90th minute, but we held on to take all 3 points, winning 3-2. It was just as well we did, as it was time for round 2 of our brutal double-header against Barcelona and Real Madrid. An away trip to the Bernabeu was up first though, and a chance to close the gap on the team just in front of us, and the match certainly reflected our league positions, taking 69 minutes for the first goal. Thomason combined with Cassidy to get free down the left before his cross was met by Undor's header to give us the lead. Not for the first time though, Furhield's weak pass cost us as it was intercepted by Gabriel Martinelli, who ran straight through before putting past Karim to earn Madrid a point in a 1-1 draw. 2 points in our 2 matches against Madrid this season was certainly a lot better than the 0 points and 11 goals we conceded against them last. But could we do any better against Barcelona though? Well, it certainly looked like it as Barry slotted past Garcia, but unfortunately he'd gone slightly too early and the goal was ruled out for offside. Then the obvious happened as Barca went straight down the other end with Yamal, whose cross was met by Ferran Torres to give them the lead. 10 minutes into the second half, Onyeka went looking for Barry, who was tripped by Mendy, winning us a penalty and a chance to level the game up, which Onyeka didn't take. And of course, what happened next was no surprise after that missed penalty, as Yamal combined with Olmo to make it 2-0. And when our goal was ruled out for a second time, it was clear it just weren't going to be our day. However, we did at least have something to celebrate when Makama pulled a goal back just 8 minutes from time. But unfortunately, it was nothing more than a consolation as the game finished 2-1. And not only did we lose the game, but we lost Chukwuemeka too, as he'd picked up an injury, meaning he'd likely miss the rest of the season. And maybe he would have made the difference as we drew 0-0 to Mallorca that made it 3 games without a win. Next up though was a home tie against 16th place Racing, and new signing Morgan Fury provided for Gui's opener inside 13 minutes. And it was Morgan Fury's pass that set Sesko through on goal for the second just 90 seconds later. Mambu's cross was headed home by Sesko for his second as we wrapped up the 3 points with a 3-0 win. We followed that up with 2 more headed goals from Sesko in a 2-1 win over Cadiz, and those points guaranteed us Champions League football for next season. But before I reveal our transfer budget, we've still got the league to finish. Gadu got the opener after just 2 minutes against Alaves before Furhield added a second, also from a corner as we went full Arsenal again. Alaves pulled one back before Morgan Fury got his first goal for the club as we went on to win 3-1. So, headed into our final 2 games, we were sat in second place and about to pull off a miraculous season finishing above Real Madrid. Well, provided we don't throw it away. First of those games was against Valencia, who was sat in 20th place and already relegated, so it should be no surprise that we took an early lead through Sesko in the 15th minute. Sesko got his second of the game with a combination that you may have noticed becoming quite regular now, with Mambo crossing and Sesko heading home on our way to a 2-0 win. Madrid weren't just going to give us second place though, as they were hot on our tails just a point behind us with the final game left to play. Our final game of the season was against Cordoba, who weren't quite safe yet, just 2 points ahead of Real Betis in the final relegation place, meaning they still had something to play for. And the start they made certainly backed that up too, as they took the lead inside the opening 10 minutes with Karim parrying Ambrosino's shot back to Pachecic for a tap-in. We finally got going though, as Mambo found an underlapping Furhield, whose cross found Sesko at the near post, who got us back level. Just 8 minutes from time, Gadu's over-the-top ball was finished beautifully by Sesko, but after a VAR check, it was ruled offside and the match finished 1-1. And of course, Real Madrid won their match, meaning we dropped back down to 3rd on the final day. Bit of a shame, but it's not likely we're actually losing out on anything, so nothing to get too upset about. Onto the player stats though, and I can't lie, I expected better numbers from our main players. I know I rotate the strikers a lot, but I still expect at least one of them to have around 20 goals, as Makama had done for the last 2 seasons. Then midfielders, however, had done pretty well, with Onyeka specifically getting over 20 goal involvements from central midfield. And if you're wondering why Engels didn't score as many as last season, it's because we moved him further back to that defensive midfield role that was vacant after Ugochukwu's department last summer. You may have also noticed our top scorer was actually Felipe Guerrero, out on loan at Real Valladolid, and it's fair to say it was a pretty successful loan spell. His stats were looking much better, and his value certainly was too, when he finished the season with 24 goals and 9 assists in 43 appearances. So, will we have loads of money to invest in this squad ready for our European campaign next season? No, is the simple answer. Just under 15 million and 87,000 available in the wage budget is maybe just about enough for one first team edition. So, a much better season this time around, taking Madrid and Barcelona all the way, finishing just a point behind second place Real Madrid and 3 behind title winners Barcelona. More importantly though, we'd secured Champions League football again for next season, which is definitely a step in the right direction in our rebuild of Deportivo. But to see how our European journey goes next season, you'll have to tune in to the next episode. And if you've enjoyed this one, do me a favour, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.